I'm recording. So I think we're on episode 3 now at this stage. We've only released one so far, but we're on episode 3, and we've John Jack Riot with us today. How are we? How you doing?
Wow, how's it going? I didn't know it was episode 3, and 3 is like give or take my number. It's either 3 or number 12. So I'll take number 3.
That's
or
it.
Episode 3 all day.
That's the good energies in the universe coming back there to swing it in. But yeah, I've released one. I've one going out tomorrow, and then this should be out Tuesday, hopefully. So if you listen to it, it should be Tuesday. So hopefully it's Tuesday. So as I do with most people that I bring on with this podcast and that on the Key Street Files, I always kind of like to talk about the origins of people, where people came from, and like how we got to this point. So could you take us back to the origins of yourself and how you came about?
Yeah, well, Knockbridge is the cornerstone of any person's upbringing. So once you're from Knockbridge, that has to be mentioned immediately. So from Knockbridge, a place, as well, for anybody listening beyond Dundalk, is fairly close to Dundalk. And, you know, I without going too far into the actual origins of my actual, body of flesh, I'll go into the artist origins. So
yeah,
the way that came about was in 2008. So it's actually a really funny story, because we were planning on having a party out in my garage in Knockbridge, and there was a big gang of us back then. So it was like me, Aaron Smith, Patrick Staunton, Tyke Duffy, a lot of us, Paddy Byrne, we had a big gang going, and we decided we were just talking one day in my house about having a party. My parents were supposed to be going away, and we're like, right. And we were mad into pirates at the time. We just couldn't stop wearing pirate clothes, watching Pirates of the Caribbean, listening to this god-awful Tiesto remix of the Pirates of the Caribbean theme tune. Like, we were fully invested, eyeliner, everything, right? So we were like, we kind of have to bring this summer to a close with a party based around everything we've been doing. So we're like, right, we were talking shit about having that party. And while we were talking about it, my mate Paddy Byrne came up to the house, and unexpectedly as well, he was just calling up to see me, and he didn't know me and the lads were there. So while we were talking about this party, Paddy calls in, and I was like, well, what's up? Because usually, as you know yourself these days, if you're going to meet one of the lads, it's usually organized of some sort. It's rarely a call-in. So he was just like, oh, come here, I'm here to invite you anyway, but all of us were there. So I'm here to invite you it's a charity party I'm having for my little cousin. He'd like retinal blastoma, which is a tumor of the eye. He was very young. I think he was only 2 or 3. And they're obviously having a fundraiser type of party. And we were like, oh, that's unreal. And I was like, we were only after talking about having a party. Obviously a very different type of party than this charity party. And then he was like, and I was like, where is it on? And Paddy's like, I've no idea where it's going to be on, but we have a date locked in and people going. And I was like, here. I was like, if obviously the parents of the child, which would have been Paddy's aunt and uncle, were cool, we could just combine a pirate party and a charity party and just have at it. So rather than maybe doing, and of course any charity party is a good party.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we were like, we could go all out, because the bands around at the time, I think you'd Francis Waters on there recently, his band at the time. He was in a band with my brother, Guerrilla Warfare. And they had a few band names, so don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they were Guerrilla Warfare at the time. There was other bands about town, because it was me and then my younger brother Stephen, which is 2 years younger, and then Darren, which is 5 years younger. So we just had a big range of kind of people in town and different bands. And then I DJ'd at the time, and so we had free DJ equipment, and we had the place, and we're like, it all just fell into place. And there was obviously a big smack of meant to be about it.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, we'll have this charity party. And then Mom and Dad decided to stay that night, because there was obviously like a lot of people coming down. We were like, oh shit, like that was the first time Mom and Dad were deciding to stay for a party. We're like, this could go like so bad. This could be like just one of those teenage horror stories, but whatever. It actually ended up being an unbelievable night. We raised like, I think €1,182. I always remember that because of Blink 182. There was about 1,000 Blink 182 songs played that night by all the band. We raised €1,182. So that's exactly how much it was.
Brilliant.
And it ended up just being this unbelievable night. But the thing was, coming up to it, everybody had to pick their pirate name. So the idea was you pick your middle name and then one of your friends picks the surname. So
Yeah.
my middle name was or is John, but it was named after my granddad. But my granddad, even though he was called John, everybody called him Jack. So I was like, right, I'll take a double header of John Jack. And then somebody just said Riot because I had joked about being in a band called Riot, and then that was it. So
That was it.
it's a name I've always used from there. But in terms of actually using it as an artist name, like now that I'm actually creating stuff and I'm releasing something next month, you know, I actually thought about changing it because I just had it at the back of my head to use for so long. But then, without deep diving into it too much, I actually thought to myself, I was like, here, is there any deeper meaning to this name than a pirate name I made back in 2008? So I sat there thinking about it. And a lot of my music, which I'm trying to kind of lighten the load about, is just the fight with yourself and the fight with everybody else, because that's what everything is at the end of the day. So John and Jack being my dad's name, and then technically it was his name and his dad's name. So it's nearly like the fight with somebody else, as in Riot after it, and then the fight with yourself because it's the same name, the same person.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know, sometimes you can look for the meaning in things. You can kind of dig deep to try and find meaning. But I was just like, even though I did dig for it, I was like, that's it. I just can't go any further than that.
Yeah. So that's it. Stuck with it now. You can't change it.
No, it's like, it's like when you're christened with a name. Like, I like the name Barry. I don't love it, but that's not my real name, by the way.
It's your government name.
Nobody was going to know who this was.
The mask is off.
Mm-hmm.
And I know so as you mentioned there that you have music coming out next month, single Love Hub, which is on the 12th of June, if I'm correct.
Correct.
Could you tell us a little bit about it? I've seen the video for it this morning, and it is fantastic. It's only like the way I said it to you, is sensory overload, but for all the right reasons. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that was like, and getting that feedback from you, because I know, you know, your expertise is just like unbelievable, because that's not the final video. So that was a good friend of mine, Mark, who runs the open mics in Dundalk, the Spirit Store. Yeah. And the plug that night, by the way, I'm not here to plug anything, bar my own stuff. But that's the Sea Legs night, which obviously isn't going at the moment, down the Spirit Store every third Wednesday of the month. And I'm presuming once everything gets back into the normal run of things, it will be the same as well. But it is one of the best nights Dundalk has, hands down. And it's free. You call down, you can get up, you can perform, you can, in any type of way. You can talk, you can do anything. And that was the first time I ever started performing in any shape or capacity. So I nearly have to give that a shout out, because it's actually the best thing going. So if there's anybody, see, the whole idea about, you know, I'm at a certain age only starting to, you know, live out this thing I've been dreaming about for a long time. So the idea is just to get as many people that are either already doing it to do it more, or who are not doing it at all to start doing it. So if anybody is there thinking, Jesus, I'd love to be an artist, or I'd love to be a performer, but, you know, I can't just do it in my room, that is 100% the place to go. It's the most encouraging place I've ever seen of that type as well. It's amazing.
Brilliant. And you have to like register prior to that, or can you just rock up in the night and perform?
Rock up. It's a very simple process, and Mark is an unbelievable host, because Mark will do a song or two himself, and you know, it's a really welcoming atmosphere without, you know, there's no babying either, because it's a crowd. You can't be babied by an actual crowd, because half the people there are there to perform, and then the rest are there to watch, you know. So but it's just so encouraging, because it's downstairs in the store. And some nights you'll go down like anything else, it'll be like a decent crowd. Other nights it'll be absolutely jammed. So
class.
I would really encourage it. And you can just rock up on the night. Obviously, the earlier they put your name in, the better. And when you start, like, I'm quite comfortable now performing, but when you first start, the first night I went, I was like, oh, you know, I've been doing this in my head and in my room for years. This is going to be a breeze, because I can talk publicly. I've DJed before. I have no problem doing that. But when I arrived there, I arrived quite late, so I was like one of the last people on, and I sat there for like 3 hours sweating my life away, because you want to digest everybody else's performance and really get into it. But I was just like, oh my God, I've been thinking about this my whole life, and here I am. This is it, like. But it went well in the end, so yeah, I'd really recommend that. But to go back to my own tune. So, as well, you would know that we were in the middle of doing a short film for my EP, which of course is just being put on the back burner, which is just still such an exciting idea to get back into, because we did the first night of shooting anyway, which was just
it was fantastic. And it was something so different for me that like I would normally be doing, and it's just pure creativity at its finest and completely out of this world, and I loved every minute of it. I know, and we shot really late.
And there was just something about, like, we had, yeah, exactly. It was just like the location, and it was just like, you know, you didn't know Sarah or David who were involved, and then they didn't know you, but it was just like the most easygoing shoot. Not that I've been involved in many shoots before, but it was just a breeze.
Yeah, it was class, and I've been involved in a million shoots at this stage, and it's probably one of the more easy breezy ones that like I've been involved in. It was just like, not that it was like lackadaisy, but everything just went right, and everyone was just kind of keen to do it, because you've been involved in some shoots, and I even know I'm guilty of it as well. There's some shoots there, and I just don't want to be there. I don't want to do it. Whereas this one was just like, if we had gone on, if we could have shot longer, we probably would have.
Yeah, that was the whole thing, and then there was popcorn for days, so that could have fucking Go ahead.
Yeah, so just to touch on Love Hub there, just again, and do you want to delve into like the meanings behind the song, so people maybe might have a background of it now for when it released, or do you prefer to keep that on ice until it's out?
So the way I'll do it, like, I guess there's a slight hint in the title of the song, Love Hub. So the idea of it is, like, I've all the tunes ready for the EP that we'll be working on. So it's now an idea of just getting a producer, which I've one or two in mind, to touch them up, but that's later down the road. So I was like, look, in the meantime, people are being so creative with this fucking COVID scenario. I was like, I have to get on board. And I was like, right, I'm going to release a tune in between. Like, there's no, like, why not? Because, you know, my whole thing now is that I'm finally releasing something, and I was getting put off. I was like, right, I've been thinking about this for so long. I can't actually put it off again. So something has to come out. And I sat down one night and I was like, right, because all my other tunes are made by myself, like there's no samples, there's no nothing. I was like, I'm going to sample a song for this tune. And I was like, right, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to try and find my sound within another song by completely manipulating it. This is going to take me hours upon hours upon hours to find the right one. So I was there and I opened Simpler in Ableton. And the fourth song I put in, which was like 5 minutes later, not even 5 minutes, I turned it down, I changed the key, I played it, and I was just like I lost my mind. It was as if something I had imagined in my head, I thought would take maybe a few days to find. I just found it instantly. And I'm not obviously going to say the original tune because I don't want to get copyrighted for it, but it sounds so different that I should get away with it. And then, of course, once I heard that, I was like, right, I'm going to touch on something current, but of course, touch on something personal to myself. And I guess I'll like the video. There'll be so many. You see, what I've been watching. You know Virgil Abloh?
No.
So he's like the creative director at Louis Vuitton and at the brand Off-White, and he's done so many other things. But the way I've always been creating was, I'd be thinking about things for about days, trying to put a million ideas into one thing, and then it was becoming too complicated. And then I thought maybe I should be overthinking everything and simplifying it at the end. But I kept thinking, is that really the wisest thing to be doing? Like, is it too much effort, you know, to put 20 hours of thinking into something that will take, like, that will just seem simple or basic? And then I was watching a lot of his stuff recently, and that's his thing. And he described it as loaded messages in disguise. And he's like, that's how you really create. And that was like the most reassuring thing I've ever heard, because that's kind of how I've been working on this tune. I'm putting a million things into it, but I'm going to make it as simple as possible. But that's what I love doing. So I'm just excited for it.
And you can see that now that, like, I have seen it, you can see that there is like so many messages in the video, but it's not in offensive is not the right word, but it's not like you're not bombarded with them. They're there for you to find. Which is brilliant, which I love. Like, it's my job to make messages essentially and communications, and as a bit of a nerd, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, and you know what the amazing thing about that is? Sometimes they're fully intentional, which to my mind there will be. Like most of them will be intentional, but there was one even in that home video. I won't say what it was because I'm going to use the same idea for the final video coming out on June 12th, and it literally was left in because it was part of another process, and I was just like, and then I was there. I was like, I didn't mean that whatsoever, but if I tried to think of that idea separately, that would have taken me hours. But that's the amazing thing about creating stuff, that some of it is entirely intentional and some of it is just like, and the biggest waft of that I got in a while was your photo of Ellie Connolly on the beach in Black Rock. Like,
Yeah.
you told me that was a quick shoot, but when I looked at that photo, I was like, there is a million things going on in that photo. I said it to you, I said it to Ellie. I was just like, you might not have planned it, you might not have done anything, but I stared at that for ages. I was like, this is a mental photo. There's something going on, and I can't describe what it is, but that's what I'm aiming for with intention. And then if it happens unintentionally, I'll fucking take it.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that like a part of the whole creative process is that like the chaos within the creation of it, and then I think you're subconsciously encoding messages within things that you're making, and you're conveying meaning and mood and emotions that you're feeling at that time. And I know I find that it comes across in my work at that time. Like I could be a fucking in a bit of a gloom that day, and I could gravitate more to like dark, heavy, noisy, grainy black and white images, and I'm sure that kind of comes through in the music as well.
It does, and I guess it's the case of an unbelievable tune. I think the song of the year so far is called Rascal by this artist called Rumor. And I've seen a lot of talk about it. Did you see it yourself?
No, I haven't seen it. No, I must check it out. I'll check it out after this.
So yeah, whoever the hell is, like, if there's somebody listening here who just wants a good head mess of an experience, listen to that song, but with the video, because the thing about it is it's like a very American gang orientated video.
Yeah.
But the song is a cross between like a heartbroken love country song that this guy just can't escape the rat race, and he's just like heartbroken about this people screwing him over. But it's just a country ballad, like that's all it is.
Yeah.
But the thing about it, I'm like, I heard somebody mention, the genius about that is either intentional or unintentional, because you know the whole thing, everybody's getting shocked by like there's lads aiming rifles at the camera, and they're like balaclavaed out of it, and they're like stab vests on, bulletproof vests on, they've everything on.
It's like West Belfast.
This is like such a contrast, like a harsh contrast to country, and it's the exact opposite. It's where country came from. Country came from shoot-ups, women, drinking, you know, just being a bandit, like bandit lifestyle, and that's just a modern day version of it. So to this person, is he just from that type of background and he thought it was cool, or did he actually know what he was doing, like making this big connection? So
I quite like stuff like that. It's just like a stark contrast to the sound. And I think another brilliant example of that is, have you seen the Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio in it?
Not in a very long time, but I loved it at the time.
Do you get the comparison I'm making, that it's like, again, a gang situation in LA, around Venice Beach area, but they're speaking in Old English and with a classic love story. And there you go. Again, it's like obviously that was very intentional, but obviously there was the writer's influence behind it, and obviously that was conveying something that he felt down inside his psyche or whatever it may be to push this across. Like maybe he reflected a gang background. Like I don't know who directed it. It's probably like Steven Spielberg that was not in the Crips, but you know what I mean. It's like that things you could really rely heavy on your background and on your influences to push stark contrast meanings through different mediums, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense, and that's what like this guy Virgil Abloh, who I always knew of because he was like the creative director for Kanye West for years, and I knew of him as a DJ. He just kind of had his hand in everything. But he's all about, which kind of really gave me a lot of motivation for this tune going forward, because there's two samples in it, and for the promotion, so the song's Love Hub, it's coming out June 12th. There's going to be the Love Hub files, which I'm releasing on Instagram the next few weeks. So it's, of course, it's promo, but a part of it is like telling the background story of certain things. I won't say exactly what it is because it would kind of give it away. Not that the details are overly vital, because the main thing I want to push with this is just actual entertainment. Because, but then again, as I said, loaded messages in disguise, something very serious disguised with simplicity and entertainment. So the Love Hub files will be out in the next few weeks, just short, very short films. But I'll be taking the idea what Virgil Abloh did with Off-White. So he described the concept of it. So I think he thought about calling his brand grey because it's in between black and white. But he was just like, that's two in the middle. So he believes in taking two ideas, and instead of trying to meet in the middle, he tries to go left and right at the same time. Which he says, if you really think about a creative process, you don't have to meet in the middle. You can go like both ways, but you're still doing the middle work. So instead of calling it Off-White. But like when I used to see his clothes, which I'm starting to get into the higher end of fashion at the moment, when I used to see his clothes, I'm like, they are much too simple and much too run-of-the-mill to be getting the attention they deserve. Like even when I used to go to Brian Thomas for a look around, when I'd just be starting to get into it, I'd seen them and I'm like, I don't know. Obviously I wasn't into it then, but then when you hear the explanation. But then again, I was walking around Brian Thomas and they were the ones that were catching my eyes at the end of the day. So in a negative way, but I was still staring at them.
Yeah, you're still looking at them, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm actually I'm not a fan of Off-White at all.
Yeah, it's interesting because go ahead.
But I'm not of it. Like I think most of the stuff looks fantastic, but I think that it's a lot of media manipulation and the use of social media to build a luxury brand through influencers and popular people, and creating something that seems more expensive, but it's not actually, and they're charging it like the exclusivity of it, I think, is like it's fabricated. And so like you can get a pair, say, of Converse, where Converse you get them anywhere 60 to 80 quid, but he whacks a couple of black and white stripes on it and the orange tag, and all of a sudden they're $400-500. And I think it's making that like it's seeming that it's like the tag is what you're buying. You're not buying the actual product, you're buying the exclusivity of, you're buying the membership to the club. So that's like that's like the gripe I have. I have a big gripe with stuff like that. But
and see that's so interesting because that was kind of the hidden gripe I guess I had when I seen the stuff in Brian Thomas. I'm like come on, like I was like, technically I could do that. And I think I had the same thoughts when I went on a school trip years ago, and I was with the art class. We went to a gallery in Dublin, and it was just like we were taken to see the specific artists, these massive kind of carpets on the wall, as minimal as you can get, maybe like 3 or 4 sections, block colors, and they were like it was a few $100,000 for each one. And I was like, that is absolute manure. I was like, that's bullshit. But after hearing Virgil Abloh go into that, it completely changed my perspective, because one, I just loved hearing him talk. And like even when I seen his collaboration with IKEA, he had, Off-White in the simple font that he uses on a carpet. And so now they didn't go for too expensive there. I think they kept them at like a reasonably IKEA price. And then he got a lot of backlash, and he was like that. He was like, whether you buy into it or not, he was like there was hundreds of hours of ideas in that.
I do well imagine.
So when he takes, because his theory was or is, he only wants to change something by 3% physically, but he wants to put all the ideas into it. So I was like, that kind of blew my mind in a way. Whether you can get into it or not, it just was actually very cool hearing somebody break down something which seems simplistic. Or maybe he's just like an evil dictator of fashion and he knows exactly.
Yeah, he's just brainwashing us all into it. But I think completely off topic, but I kind of just want to finish my point off that I think there's a taint with the fashion industry in Ireland, because I see this is way left field and there's nothing really we're talking about.
I'm going to enjoy the left field ones.
So like the way I see it is, and like that crime, like say the criminal underworld in Ireland, a lot of it is based around fashion. Hear me out.
Okay.
You look at these boys and you see them in the newspapers and stuff. They've the best jackets on. They're always kitted out in the best of brands, not the nicest of gear. Because some of it, like, you wear the clothes don't wear you. But this is why I don't like it, because it's like, it's given that exclusivity is like the essence of money and power is associated with these brands, and it's just something that I just can't buy into. I'm a simple man with simple needs, and I think when you see people banging around in I was about to say Canadian Canada Goose jackets and Alexander McQueen runners and Gucci flip flops, like, no one needs to be spending 100+ quid on a pair of flip flops. Like, I think that's absolutely outrageous.
Yeah. And you know what? I've always looked at podcasts and I was always just like, I would love, and by the way, to go not really left field because we're on a podcast, but the idea that I'm even on a podcast now, because when you put it up the other day, we were chatting about it, I was just like, I've never been on a podcast. Like, this is like the last time I think I said I've never done this before was when we were in the cinema doing that shoot. So it's actually madly exciting to be doing this in the first place. But anytime I watch podcasts, I don't particularly listen to them. I always need a visual aid. So on YouTube, I need to see the face behind the words. And I've always been like, geez, I would love to actually get in a really good disagreement about something. And this could actually be it, because I feel that type of money being spent on stuff in the grand scheme of things is fairly unnecessary, absolutely. But I think the money we spend on most things is fairly unnecessary. And I nearly feel, looking at the higher ends of fashion, the higher ends of businesses and this type of thing, and deeming it power and greed is not really fair. If I'm here on my iMac Pro, and we have all these like amazing equipment, and the clothes I'm probably wearing now from ASOS and from wherever these trousers are from, probably the effect of slave labor. So I think we're all part of it. So I think if you're part of it in any shape or form, it's hard to chastise it if you're part of it. But I do know there's levels, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, the way I look at it is like, it's a justification of purpose. Like, I need my MacBook for work, and I paid for my MacBook like outright. Like, I saved up a fortune, like, and I worked really hard to buy it. And like, obviously, like, the morals behind the production of it are another thing. I think that's like something that, like, we've all just been accustomed to turning a blind eye to. But I need this microphone for work. I need these cables. I need all my fancy equipment. I need my Studio Wonder headphones. Like, not that I need them, but to be the best at my job, I need them. But I don't need €150 flip flops. I don't need an €800 jacket where I could buy a lesser counterpart and probably have the same effect out of it. So the way I look at things is, I would pay for, like, obviously, like, functionality and how it looks, but I'm not going to go to mad extents to blow my load on a jacket, if that makes sense. And I always look for longevity as well through my things, like, whereas I think fashion lives a very short life span.
Yeah, it's nearly the main idea of fashion. It is, everything's a short lifespan. It's the whole idea about it, which is really interesting. And obviously it helps with the sales of it. And yeah, come here, absolutely. Like, I don't even for a second deny any of the things you just said. I do also feel it's a perspective, of course, because
absolutely, yeah.
Because the way you look at it is like, everything you said there, I like 100% agree with. But if you had somebody from an impoverished area of a fairly impoverished country looking at the stuff you're deeming, and you're kind of, you're not defending what you're doing, because it actually makes perfect sense, but they would see that as just like, I can't believe he's actually even talking about that. Like, I think the way we would I think the way people frown upon, I love the example of the Kardashians. Like, I actually think I love the Kardashians because they're just like this insane part of like popular culture and time that we're getting to witness. Like, it's absolutely insane. Like, I'm not saying I love them, I don't know them, but I mean just the whole idea. Yeah. And just the backlash they get for being extravagant. Whereas I think most people dishing out the backlash are probably in the top 5 or 10% of the world's rich. Like we're in that bracket. Which
oh, absolutely, yeah. I've never had like a real like I said it before, like a real want or need in my life.
Yeah.
Like oh sorry, like a need, like obviously you wants and stuff, but there's now like I've never been hungry. I've never been like cold to the extent where like life threatening. Yeah, you know, I've never had problems, and like obviously like which I should have said is that like I'm not saying don't go buy your expensive jackets or your expensive. It's just something that I wouldn't do. Like, and if you work hard and you really bust yourself, like by all means treat yourself. But like, I think we come back to we said we're completely blocked off from the other 90% of the world that can't afford the basics that we have.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like I have a bulb here in front of me, light my face up. Some people would kill for that bulb. You know what I mean? And it's just something that I just fire in the corner now afterwards. Like, so I completely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. What's very nice is that I think we're on different pages, but we completely agree with each other.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, like I'll never, like, by all means, like if you hand me €1 million today, obviously I'm going to ball out and buy something flashy, but like within reason.
Yeah.
I'd probably buy a naughty computer rather than a tidy jacket.
There you go. Yeah. Like, what would be your? So obviously, like you're quite fashionable anyway, but as you said, you keep it at your. You know, you look for longevity. You look for reason. Like you don't try to go over the top. Like what would be your? Where do you shop mainly? Is it online or do you?
Yeah, I usually go ASOS. I usually buy ASOS normally, but I'm an awful like I'm an awful man for a sale. I love sales.
Same.
So like so I always get a lot of stuff on sales, and like I always buy like the large packs of t-shirts and stuff. But yeah, even then I used to be more into fashion, like kind of when I was younger, and I think that was just kind of part of the culture. But now I'm just kind of dress down to dress up. Really, that's kind of the way I am now. Just keep it plain, keep it simple.
And that's I've gone that direction as well. Like I used to be very skanky and extravagant at the same time. That was kind of my thing. But I don't know, since recently, yeah. But I love going on to the likes of ASOS, going to sale, but I'm all about color. Like I'll go through color spells. Like I'm just off in navy. Like I just got rid of so many navy things. I could not have bought any more navy things. And now I'm, as you can tell, a bit of a beige type of red, a little bit of orange. So I just go sale, clock in those numbers, clock in the colors, and then it's the way to go. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I think simplicity is key at the minute. I think if you can dress simple and look cool, you're winning.
Yeah, it's fucking mad because I actually think everything now has taken on. I don't really like using the word minimal, but I think necessary. I heard somebody say that recently is the way to go, because even if you listen to music now, music went through a stage where technology really took it over, and you could have the most dramatic, over-the-top orchestrated song made off a computer. But now everybody has that ability, and they're choosing to do the opposite. Like most songs now, it's like trap pop, and it's all very, very simple and voice orientated. So, and even design, if you look at, somebody said before, I can't remember who it was, said all the reasons that everything now is so simplistic, whether it be fashion, and even when you look at people's like general interior design, it's all gone simple. Somebody said, and I was like, Jesus, there's probably a bit of truth in that. It came from phones, because what do you look at most? Your phones. When phones first came out, they weren't user friendly because they were just in the process of being so popular. But now everything on a home screen is so simple. So that just leaked into everything. And I was like, Jesus, that sounds like it's on the money.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think we are going towards like a minimalist culture at the minute, because I think people are just becoming more aware of themselves, the environment they have on each other and on the surrounding world. So I think going to that minimalist culture and declutter, like I think decluttering's a massive important thing, whether it be mentally, physically, whatever it is. Getting rid of things is good, and throwing away things is good.
Absolutely.
And don't throw away your clothes, donate them. Something that I think is very important. Or what's the word I always forget it? I can't think of the word.
What is it based around?
It's like repurposing fashion, like remaking something out of old clothes, and is it upstyling? No.
fucking ASOS and that love plugging that word. It's
I can't think of it. It's escaped me big time now.
it's not repurposed. No, it
Yeah,
reclaimed.
something like that. Yeah. We're hitting on it anyway. We're touching around.
Yeah.
But like I think that's cool. And obviously, I should never repurpose any myself because I just don't have that skill set in me. But donate your clothes, give them away, and someone would be happy with a jacket or something.
Yeah, and I really think that's, I did that when I was moving out of the house there. I threw out like 7 bags of clothes, and I was just like, where's the easiest place to post these clothes? In a charity shop. So it's not easy. You can pat yourself in the back a wee bit, but it actually makes the most sense to do most of the good things.
Yeah, like it's the exact same effort to take them to a dump than it is to a charity shop. So give them to someone that might use it rather than just getting rid of it.
And if somebody wants to dress up like an over-the-top, extravagant, skanky pirate from 2008, now they have the chance to do it for free. So.
Yeah, the tools are there for
the
tools. We went way left field there. Jesus, we're gonna whip it back in, and want to talk about your creative idols, like who inspires you and what influences you to make the music that you do.
Yeah, well, I think for the longest time it was Kanye West and Kendrick Lamar, just because they're my favorite artists. But I think for a while it was Kendrick Lamar because he's very much about the intricacies and fighting the good fight and sorting yourself out and stuff like that. So I was mad into that idea and just him for so long. I still am, but there was something about Kanye West. Like I've been a fan of him since secondary school, but there was just something about where I kind of deemed his overall product and his artistry a bit like manic and a bit loose. And I was just like, there's not much artistic merit in that until I seen it as the exact opposite where, I think he's obviously a love-hate character, but I think he's so deep in some of the seemingly dumb things he does that when you kind of not open your eyes to it, but when you see that a lot of artists from down, and when I say down the years, well before our time, it's like they're just letting loose on certain things and there's just a mad process behind the stuff to do. So I just got really into him. I said, even though I liked him for so many years, I just really got into him. Just the idea of what he does. And he's extended it into fashion. He's extended it now into like he's trying to build housing for charities and stuff like that. And he's trying to build, like he's bought so much land in certain parts of America. And now he's a billionaire. So it's a very wild story. Like he's one of those guys, and like he always compares himself to like Renaissance artists, and he compares himself to Steve Jobs, and I honestly think that type of talk is absolutely fine because it's just talk at the end of the day. And I actually think he believes it. Like it's not as if any of these artists back in just say the Renaissance times, all the greats, not that I'm like an expert in Renaissance art, but all the names that everybody would be familiar with. It's not as if they were like, a lot of them would have, like artists tend to be at the top level. It comes with a bit of ego, a lot of ego and a bit of arrogance. So
absolutely. I think you need that 1% mentality, that A-type mentality to succeed in such a world like.
Yeah. So I nearly feel like, and then with Virgil Abloh recently, because I feel when I was coming in off the film we were doing, which I'm just so excited to get back into. Like I would say now, the El Corona might have been a blessing in disguise because I think even the luck you seen I had that night, which of course will still be luck like that.
Yeah.
That shit just like going to be gold. But I'd say my overall luck, I'm on a quite casual one here at the moment, will be close to the other one was very sinister before, and I really dug deep because I was loving it. And then even lyrically, I was being a bit dark, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm like the most offensively optimistic person I know. Like I actually annoy people with my optimism. So I'm like, why am I annoyingly but to me positively optimistic in real life, but my music is like a Debbie Downer? I'm like, what is going on there? But I think it's just me, swimming through the ideas, and then I'm just like, wait, you can just get all of these deeper ideas across in an entertaining way, because most of the artists I love at the end of the day are experts at that. Like Prince is somebody who I'd love from maybe the older generations, and you know, lyrically, if you dive into him, it's not as if it's dense material, but he just brings, you know, like a song like Little Red Corvette in theory is as cheesy as it gets. He's just comparing somebody to a car.
Yeah,
It's one of the best songs probably of all time. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? So you need to find that balance.
yeah, absolutely. And I think
And what about
that's,
you? Who would you levitate towards as a bit of an idol?
oh, I don't know. That's a tough one. I I don't know. I kind of don't really hold too many people like in higher statures than me. Not like
Mm-hmm.
no, that's like a shit way to put it, but like I don't think I really I'd have anyone that I would call an idol. I like
Mm-hmm.
it's not fuck it. That's actually a hard one. I'm more influenced by certain things than people, if that makes sense. So like
Like you'd be
I
maybe motivated by if you've seen like a group of people get together and do something like an amazing project, that would
yeah,
motivate you
yeah,
more so than
that
the
I'd be
person.
like that's brilliant. Yeah, that would fire me up. Like a certain person wouldn't fire me up, but on like time periods and genres and stuff inspire me. Like I take like a lot of my photography influence, like my personal photography influence from like 1980s graffiti in New York, like that
Mm-hmm.
whole aesthetic and like the old black and white film that they would have used. Like I love that, and that stuff kind of like it expresses so many different meanings and messages without color and really
Yeah.
without any real expensive photography tools, and that fires me up. That gets me going. Images people have taken have would inspire me. Like a photographer that I don't really like him as a person. Like I think he just annoys me. But
Mm-hmm.
Platon, he's photographed more war leaders than anyone else. His photos are absolutely amazing, and his photos would inspire me, but he wouldn't inspire me if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'd be more inspired by final products than actual people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like
that's go ahead.
yeah, no, it's just like I I'm not a big fan of like egotistical people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not because of them. It's just like the type of person that I have. Like I'm quite reserved. I'm quite easygoing. I'm quite relaxed. And I don't like big personalities that suck up all the attention in the room. I just like to kind of go with the flow, and I think that's why I don't really like the not the term idol, but I just wouldn't hold anyone in a massive disregard, a massive pedestal to
Exactly.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it's so interesting because I would feel that's how everybody works. Like I would say I'm definitely somewhat egotistical in the way like I operate, but I think I've brought that to a good place, which I think is, but that's the point I'm getting to is people just levitate to what they are themselves. And I know that's the most basic thing you could say, but it's actually like the deepest idea possible. Like when it comes to politics, when it comes to music, when it comes to clothes, when it comes to anything, you're just searching for a bit of yourself at the end of the day. And that's it.
Exactly, and that's kind of why I love doing stuff like this, so photography, videography. It's kind of you're finding yourself through it, and even like then over like the last couple of months, like I've done a lot of self reflection and a lot of thinking, especially with going through the whole rebrand process and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed that in my personal work that like I gravitate a lot towards like darkness,
Yeah.
but I'm not a dark person, so it's like a
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it's so peculiar, and I'm still trying to figure it out. And I've had a few people mention it to me recently, just through talking about stuff, and they're saying my personal work, and you can see it actually. I've only noticed it like as I go through stuff like that. It's very dark and it's very almost negative in its presentation, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not who I am. Like so, it's
Yeah.
weird. I'm kind of going through this like internal battle of like what my work represents versus like who I actually am.
I really like. That's really curious because,
Mm.
like, even from looking at your stuff before, like, even that image of Ellie,
Mm.
you can nearly picture that being like a dark photo from fucking like the Bronze Age in Scotland. Like she looks like, and it's like this, like there's a
Yeah,
darkness and there's a
yeah, there is.
sinister
Yeah,
edge to it.
yeah, and
And
I don't know why I just gravitate towards it so much, but like I'm not a dark or negative person. I'd be actually quite the opposite, but it's just someone in my work. Maybe that's like the badness getting out of me in my work, but
that's where I was going.
yeah,
Maybe because you don't practice that in your life, you're doing it in the most safe way possible.
maybe yeah. That was like a thought that I had, but I don't know. It's so peculiar. I just can't figure it out. And I'd love to get to the bottom of it. I don't think I ever will, and I don't think I'll ever change my style. I just think it will evolve over time.
Yeah,
Maybe when I get all the bad stuff
but
out of me,
that
I'll talk it into a bit more color.
yeah, but I think that's class
Mm.
because whereas I felt some of my stuff was being negative, like before, like when I used to, oh, do you know what's so funny? Like when I started doing the open mics, I can definitely credit myself for giving it absolute sucks, but I think there was a lack of control in my a lot of early performances. Like
Mm.
I would just fucking lose my shit, which is entertaining, of course, in its
Mm-hmm.
way to see somebody just go all out. But I think, of course, some of that came from nerves and came from, right, I might not have a control of my voice now. I might not have control of what I'm doing, but I can completely lose control, and that at
Yeah.
least gets props. But now I think I'm at a comfortable enough place where I found the medium. But when it came to my lyrics and stuff like that, they were so internal. They were so kind of dark. They were so this, that, and the other. And I remember asking somebody who used to come to my open mics. I was like, "Come here." I was like, I just kept thinking one day. I was like, I was going through a performance I did, and I was thinking, I wondered did anybody catch that gist? And I asked this person. I was like, by the way, I was like, do you know what I'd be relating to in my performances? And she was like, I literally have no idea what you'd be singing about and
Yeah.
screaming. I literally don't have a clue. And I was like, wow, because I'd only started doing it. And of course, I kind of had it in my head because there's a wee bit of ego at work that it was fucking unbelievable. Everybody knew what I was talking about. But when I deconstructed it, I was like, how the hell is anybody going to know what I'm talking? Like, literally
Yeah.
nobody's
Yeah.
going to know what I'm talking about. So, but then I thought about my favorite lyricist, Kanye West, probably being it,
Mm.
because he'll come up with, when he wants to, quite a deep, intricate line, but then he'll say, you've got a sister-in-law, you'd fuck, I've got four of them, which is like so harsh and like so, you're like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? But I think
Yeah.
the best lyricists just reflect how they talk. So I've just completely changed my lyrics over the last while to reflect me, like, because at the end of the day, you have to just give every single aspect of yourself when you're creating stuff. But that's what I love about the contrast there, because I recognized the falseness of the dark coming through in the stuff
Yeah.
I was doing. But there, I think you recognize yours as a positive, and I would as well.
Yeah.
And that's your style. Whereas I realized that wasn't my style. So that's quite interesting how we
Yeah.
both came to different conclusions
Yeah. That's really interesting, and almost like polar opposite conclusions. Like we found the the polar opposite answers in the same thing. Does that make
there. Yeah,
sense? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because when I look at your stuff already, just from going over, even though I would have seen a bit of it before, but since we got to know each other more, obviously, I see more of it. And there's an obvious style there, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. Because even though when you were saying, when you see off-white stuff, it's a load of stripes thrown on top of something. His idea
Yeah.
behind was that he was like, what is the most universal language in the world? If I put English on this, it's not universal. If I put Chinese, any type of language in this, it's not universal. And then he taught road stripes
Yeah.
are in every single country potentially in the world, bar probably a very small few. And that was the reason behind that. He's just like, and now when I look at a car park or a road, sometimes I just see certain line patterns and I just think, oh, that looks like off-white. But I'm like, no, I was like,
Yeah.
that's obviously the intention,
Yeah.
but the
Which is
whole idea that
genius.
was a signature, and then you have a signature because your signature is at a deeper level,
Yeah.
a grounded, well moral person with a dark creative side, which is quite a signature. So
Yeah. It's quite weird, and I think that's like important for. I always go back to like any young photographer, any young creative, even though like we're very young ourselves and very much in the infancy of what's going on, but been doing it for a while now and kind of gone through the dips and valleys. And I think it's like a style is something that should not be forced. I think it will find you rather than you trying to find it,
Correct.
and you'll naturally gravitate towards it eventually. And I just had this conversation with a friend of mine who's getting into photography, and he's like, less than 6 months, probably about 6 months now at this stage. He's like, yeah, but I don't have a style. And he's like, yeah, but don't worry about that. Just learn it. Just learn the craft, and your style will come. Like I've been photographing. I bought my first camera with my confirmation money. So that's
Wow. That's about
2000,
3 years ago.
yeah, about 3-4 years ago. I think I was almost 16 years ago. It'd be 16 years ago this year. No, yeah, 15, 16 years ago. And I think in the last 6 months myself, I've only been kind of noticing that like this is is what I gravitate towards. This is my style. Even though I've been doing it all along, but I've realized this is me, this is who I am, and this is the products that I'll give out. Even though like 9 to 5 I'll do press and corporate stuff, but like when I get to do my own stuff and let loose, like that's what comes out of me.
Yeah. And like it's amazing because like I would say on 2 different occasions, like you've actually entered my diary of motivation. And I mean that literally because I keep a diary.
Appreciate that.
Show it down because I remember the night we did a photo shoot around by that B&B.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think my mind's so active and it took me a while to recognize this, because I've not released anything yet and it's taken so long and now it's coming to the point where it's coming, there was a rush,
mm-hmm.
you know, and then I heard you just say, look, you know, don't rush, be active, but don't rush. And I was just like, you know, that's as true as it gets. So that was one. And then the second one was when you put up the video kind of just giving the explanation behind blah blah and everything like that. And like I'm not saying this because you're like digitally sitting in front of me, but that blew me away. I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, because I was already going through a phase where I was trying to knock off some of the darkness in what I was doing. And I was like, well, I need to give more of myself. So while I was in that thought process, I see that and I'm like, that's as not just genuine, but that's like as to the bone as it gets, because you're like, this is what this is. And of course, mystery is always a good thing, and I will have a lot of mystery in my stuff.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But that really motivated me to be like, right, you know, I used to be faceless in my artists, like visuals, but now I'm like, no, show a bit more yourself because that's what it's about. And you showed that tenfold in that video. So like that was in my diary for a few days, like on repeat. I was like,
I love that. I really appreciate that. That actually means a lot, and it hits home and kind of just makes this stuff worth it. Like that, like I'm hitting home with the messages that I want for Blah Blah Studio. So I really appreciate that, man. Thank you. Oh,
it's all true. And then it did. Yeah, you went dead slow there for a minute.
Yeah, I didn't know what happened there. We're all good now, I think.
Yeah. And just while we're there, not that I'm, you know, driving the topics, but just because you actually said blah blah, it came into my head there. So, me and yourself have mentioned, and this is for other people listening, of course, that the idea of once everything gets back to normal, you know, I need to do my first proper gig. And I think there's so many people in town that need to do their first proper official something. It doesn't have to be a gig. So we toyed with the idea of having a night of just everybody who's there, whether it be somebody who's doing the stage setup, whether it's somebody performing, whether it's the DJ, whether it's the person doing the photography, whatever, that everybody there is actually probably people who've been doing this for a long time, but haven't done it at that type of capacity yet.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I love the idea of us kind of mixing our ideas. So blah, blah, black sheep. I would love that idea.
Class.
Might be long-winded, but I think it like your input's there, my input's there. And then the black sheep would probably apply to a lot of creative people as well. So
yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's nearly just a feeler. So if anybody's listening to this and just if that rang a bell of any sort and you're like, Jesus, I'd love to do something like that. You know, my name's John Jack Riot on Instagram. Obviously this is put up by Ryan here, Ryan Duffy, blah, blah, studios. So, you know, I think putting out the idea for it now and seeing the feedback would be the perfect time to do it now. So
absolutely. And that's something that I really wanted to do with Blah Blah Studio, is to open it up to people that just want to do anything creative or want to express themselves, because that was something that Twinkie was quite proud of and really wanted it to be this like makerspace. So again, anyone drop either one of us a bell and you can do it. I'll try and facilitate anything that you want and we can do it. So that's probably like the main mission of Blah Blah Studio for now anyway. But I think it will be the lifelong mission is just to facilitate people and just create fun stuff and have a good time. Yeah,
it's a win-win. Like the idea of Blah Blah being that is just class, because like obviously it's your own thing, but then it's like but at the end of the day, you know, it might sound corny and it might sound overly deep. When it comes to art at the end of the day is just anybody that came before you and anybody that's around and probably that will come after you. It's just like this mad, like somebody described it recently. Who was it? Joe Rogan of all people, who I would imagine is well, he is a creative person. I was about to say he's not. He obviously is. Like he's a comedian and he runs obviously a very popular podcast, which you'll be given a run for its money fairly soon. But
I hope so. If anyone wants to throw a few pound my way, I'll take it. No sweat.
Anybody?
I'll buy that Canadian Goose jacket then.
I'll change.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, describing creativity as, and even though it's just always unbelievable to hear somebody articulate something you've thought about before. But when he described creativity as something that is flowing through you for literally no reason. So you come up with an idea in your head. Obviously, if you want to start getting technical and maybe minimize the miracle of it, you could start saying, oh, well, you've had all these a million experiences, and then they're going to formulate some sort of an idea at some stage, and then you might be motivated to do that. You could say that, but that is like making a very basic theory about something that is basically unexplainable. That you like the visuals I even had for a small video in my room, the visuals that I have for the one coming up, even the tune itself, like that just came from somewhere. And the idea that he said is treat it professionally, because you're lucky in any capacity. You could be one of the big creatives in the world or one of the small ones, but you're lucky to get that. You're lucky to receive it. So the idea is treat it professionally and get it out, because my whole thing is I have an art display. Oh, this applies to both of us, so it's a perfect detour, which I think this podcast is really consisted of.
Oh, absolutely. I think all podcasts consist of just detours and then coming back and then going off again.
This is like the detour de France. This is what it is. So, I actually put up an art display on Third Place. So big shout out to Third Place. Like, I fucking love that place. So Niall and Alicia put an unbelievable effort into getting, like, there's a free art space up there on the wall. And then when this all was coming about, i.e. The Miss Corona situation, they were like, right, get stuff up in the window. So me and two other artists took up the space. And I put up 2 of your images on it.
Yeah.
I haven't even told you this. So your image and then the Twinkie image, because it was 12 images, and as I said, it's about number 3 or number 12 all day long. And I was like, right, there's 12 of them there, they're going up. And I made sure that, because the way I'm looking at art is now, you're just taking in other people's stuff. Like, of course you can make an original idea out of it, but you're taking a million things before you even get that far.
Oh, yeah.
So I considered not putting your images up. And I was like, no. I was like, I've put a navy tint on the darkness of it because it just obviously suited the images, and I'm going to put them up because that's part of my Instagram, but it's part of that story where I'm going with things. And there was a girl looking at it, and I would kind of half know her, and she was like, Alicia said to her, she's like, oh, that's Barry's art display. And she was like, oh, that's just blah blah studio. And he's like, that's not Barry's. And I was like, exactly, that's the whole point. Like, that's what art is like. Like, if I had to try and sit down and make images of that quality, like, a lot of them were photos other people took.
Yeah.
A lot of them were like the Lamb of God reference. I wish I painted that. I didn't paint that. However, I put 12 of them together and put in 2 of my own images and made a story, and that's exactly what it's all about.
It was fantastic. It looked absolutely amazing. And you didn't even tell me about it. I just seen the picture Third Place put up, and I was buzzing with it. I was like, this is fantastic. Like,
yeah.
And then, like,
there was Hughes on it. There was, when I say Hughes, I knew Twinkie on it. There was Sarah Jane. So that would be Nits. And I'm obviously calling out people because I've used some of their stuff. So it's obviously right I call them out here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Blah Blah Studio. There was obviously Twinkie's up there. Sarah Jane. So Nits love you. And Nits, the band from town, you can categorize them as a band, but she has put out 2 songs. And I'm not saying this because I know her, but she's put out 2 songs recently that, of course, you can listen to your friends' art, their tunes, you can watch people with any visual art they might put together, but she made a song recently, well, 2 of them that I'm referring to. One's called something along the lines about Jerry Adams, and then the other one is with what's his name? I was actually in Jinx Lennon, so I was in the video for that. So they did, and that video has inspired me to do the current video going forward, because some people who I won't name now because it would make no sense are going to be in the video. But them 2 tunes just blew me away. So if anybody's listening, go look out for Nets. There's 2 tunes, and it's not the case that I'm plugging it because I'm friends with Sarah, but they just blew my mind. Like, a mental type of style to have anywhere in Ireland, and we have it here in town.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So Sarah was involved. Ellie Connolly, who is going to be the creative producer of the film that we've been working on. So helping out with looks, like, she's got a visual eye. She's a fashion designer, so she was part of it. David Carey, so the Puka Lives, so at the top left image of that. drag queen who performed there recently. I watched a drag show set up by the George recently online, and it was the best night in I've had in ages. Because it's just a proper show. If you ever go to drag shows, there was barely any difference with it because they were just being creative with their rooms, they were being creative with their houses, and Dave was part of that as well. So
Class.
yeah, I'm obviously going to shout those people out.
Yeah, absolutely. Get the wall out there. Name and shame everyone.
Yeah, complete shame. And if I left anybody else, I just left you out.
That's it. Sorry.
No
maybe next time.
yeah. I'll leave you out next time as well.
Barry, I think we should leave it there. I think we've covered every topic under the sun, and I think there's a lot of information in there for people to digest. So I just want to thank you very, very much for coming on, and I really appreciate it. I hope this was useful for someone. And as I say, give us a shout if you want to use our platforms for anything at all.
Class. Like that, I think I could literally do this potentially all day.
Oh, same. That's what we like from doing the other podcasts. Like I've learned to like. That's why if you're watching, if you watch it back, I keep looking at my watch. Like over time, you just become so time conscious because like, like he's like right there's an hour gone already. So like that's a lot of information for people to consume, especially after all the left field curveballs we've having there. So
exactly,
an hour is my minimum now. Or my hour is my max. Sorry. So I try to keep it around an hour mark from now on, just to be easy on people.
Yeah, exactly. And then I get Katie Ann McGuigan was a part of that. She's an unbelievable designer from fucking Carningford. Like it's unbelievable the amount of actual talent that's around. It's insane. And then one last shout out I will do, because the whole idea of me doing my tunes in the first place is that I'm doing them so late in life. The ego in me is telling me that, and I won't extend this too far because I know you have your limit. But the whole thing about me was I've been convinced I'm going to be like the best artist that has ever been, like ever. And I actually really believed that, despite releasing nothing, like literally nothing. Yeah. So now I'm at a later stage of my life. I'm finally doing it. But the whole idea is anybody who, and it's not as if I'm making some corny fucking proclamation. Like if anybody's hearing this and just wants to get fully immersed in something and actually just do something, just give myself, John Jack Riot on Instagram, or Ryan Duffy or Blah Blah Studios a shout, because I think I come from a slightly ego-driven but a well-intended place, and you're coming from a similar place but in just a very different way. So I think if anybody has ideas, reach out. And I mean that, because if I had maybe heard this about 5 years ago, I would have jumped at the chance. And I'm not saying I'm in the place to be doing it, but anybody's in the place to do it at the end of the day.
Oh, absolutely. And we know enough people and we have enough friends that we can probably facilitate most things. So
yeah, correct.
Please give us a shout, and I'll leave all our details below. Obviously, my details are on the page because this is where you see it, but I'll leave all John Jack Riot stuff down below, and you can give us a shout. So anyone to tune in, really appreciate it, and thanks for listening.